Okay guys, in this video, this is multi-step equations. So remember, when you say multi-step, basically you're saying more than two steps, right? So you can have anywhere from, 3, 4, there could be 5 steps, so, and upward. But traditionally, it's about 3 or 4 is multi-step, but it's always more than 2. All right, so let's jump into it, and then maybe we kind of just count how many steps it takes, so we can see how many steps it is, but that's not necessary. The other thing is, keep in mind that in this video, when we do multi-step, it's usually that there are variables on both sides of the equal sign, so that letters to the left, numbers to the right thing is going to be really, really important as we go through this video. Okay, so again, the worksheets are uploaded on my channel or inside of your tile for Algebra 1. And again, I will show that in this video just so everybody's clear where to find where I got these problems from. All right, so there are two things happening to x. There's an x guy, something's happening to him on the left side. There's another x term over on the right-hand side, and something is happening to him. So the first thing I would do is I always go from left to right in math. So what is happening to this x? Well, x is being multiplied by 8. Remember, there's multiplication with that coefficient. It's being multiplied by 8, and then 2 is being subtracted away from it. And then this x over here, it's being multiplied by 7, and then 9 is being subtracted away from it. So again, what I want to do, because I can't combine these two terms, I want to stress that to you guys. A lot of people think that, oh, I'm just going to do something with the 8 minus 2. You cannot do that because this guy has an x term with it, and this guy is just a constant, okay? So what I'm going to do is letters to the left, numbers to the right, and you've heard me say that, so I'm just trying to get all my x terms over to the left side by doing the inverse operation, and I'm trying to get all of my number or constants to the right side of the equal sign. So when I say letters left of the equal, numbers right of the equal sign. Okay, so I see a plus 7x, so I'm going to do a minus 7x. Got to do an inverse operation to cancel it out on this side. And what you do to one side, do to the other. So we're going to minus 7x on this side. Okay, so now what we're left with is we have 8 minus 7x. This is a 1x minus 2 is equal to negative 9 on the right side. And now again, we're going to do our numbers to the right. So you have to do the inverse operation to move terms from one side of the equal sign over to the other. So the final answer for this one, number 3, x is equal to, remember to subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number, negative 7. Okay, and we can go and prove and disprove. I'm going to do that super quick. Is if I have 8 times negative 7 minus 2, does that equal the stuff over on this side, which is negative 9 plus 7 times negative 7. So are those equivalent? Well, this is negative 56 minus 2 plus bump back. So I got negative 58 on the left. And then negative 7 times 7 is negative 49. And I got another minus 9 right here in the front. Well, guess what I could do, guys? Change to a plus, bump back. So see, you're going to have to add that. And yes, that would be negative 58. So you add and keep the sign. You add and keep the same sign. So this is true. That means the only answer for this particular problem, is negative 7. So we did good. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, now for this one, let's talk about combining like terms. When I look over to the left side of this equal sign, okay, and if you want to put a slash, just remember that equal is still there. But over on the left side, notice you have this p minus 1. So you have a variable and you have a number. Nothing you can combine on this left side of the equal sign. But over here, you have 5p plus 3p. So these are like terms. Okay, I think it's important also to include that sign. So I'm going to add those two together. And so, of course, 5p plus 3p is 8p minus 8. Drop down my equal sign, and then drop down that p minus 1. And there we go. Now we're back to the p's being on both sides. So I'm going to do my letters left, numbers right. Okay, so when we want to move one term over to the other side, we have to do the inverse operation. So this guy is positive, so I'm going to subtract 8p from the right and to the left. All right, here we go. So we have this 1, even though we can't see it, 1 minus 8. So you have a positive, and then you have this negative. You're going to subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number. So that's what we have there. And now we're going to do numbers to the right. So again, I want to move this negative 1, but I got to add 1 here because I want to move it to the right side. Add 1 there. It's no longer on the left. And now we have negative 7p is equal to subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number. And remember, we're not going to divide by just 7. We're going to divide by negative 7 because we do not want to leave that negative on that p. So we're going to divide by negative 7. That was our coefficient. Negative 7 divided by negative 7 is positive 1. And that's what we want. We want a 1p that's positive. And then negative 7 divided by negative 7 again, positive 1. So p is equal to 1. And you can stop the video and go back and check. All right, so I hope that made sense to you. Let's go on to some more. All right, so we're getting into more multi-steps. But notice for this one, we have a distributive property. So again, there's only a 12 on this side of the equal sign. But one thing that my mind tells me is, hey, I have that negative 4 in front of the parentheses. That's where I start drawing my arrows because look, I have those 2 terms, and we have to multiply that negative 4 by each individual term. Okay, and if we want, because I've always showed that to you, I usually end up coloring in those arrows. Remember, this is the DP, distributive property, which means we're going to multiply each term by whatever is in front of that parentheses. So I'm going to drop the 12 down on the left, drop down my equal sign, negative 4 times negative 6x. Do not forget to say the letter, the variable. So this is a positive 24x. Negative 4 times negative 3 is a positive 12. A negative times a negative is a positive. And you notice how I'm sitting back showing this to you? Talk it out. Sit in your room, sit outside, sit wherever. Put some soft music on, not rap music or music with a bunch of words and too much dancing. Bring some mellow music, some jazz, some classical, just things without so much words, but more instrumentals. Even instrumentals with some of the songs you're used to listening to. Okay, I'm back. So again, I was just saying, please try to listen to some soft music. That way your brain can focus on what you're doing and then talk out the steps. It'll make it stay with your long term. Okay, so now in this case, we don't have to do letters left, numbers right in this case because think about it. We don't have a letter on this side. We only have the letter on the right. So this is the one that's a little bit different is we're not going to move the letter to the left. It's already the only one on the right side. So leave him there. So let's move the numbers to the left so that x can be isolated or alone on one side of the equal sign. That's the whole objective, is to get that x by itself to one side so you can figure out what his unknown value is. So we got 24x on the right this time. 12 minus 12 is 0. And then what do you know? You divide by 24 to both sides, x is 0. That's the answer. And that's okay. Can we check and see if we get it right? Sure. If I plug 0 right here, right, guys? Negative 6 times 0 is 0. So we would have 0 minus 3. And then 0 minus 3, or change to a plus, bump back. See? Subtract. The answer would be 3, but it would be keep the sign of the bigger number. It's a negative 3. And then look, negative 4 times negative 3 is positive 12. So yes, the only solution that works is 0. All right, let's go on. All right, number 12 is just like the one above. The only difference is be very careful, and I'm going to highlight in another color, that negative 1 is right there in the front. You just don't see the 1. If you want to write it in, that's fine too. But we're doing the distributive property. So we're going to multiply each term by negative 1 to do the distributive property. That means to multiply each term. So we get negative 7, positive 4x equals 9. All right? And again, the letter is on the left, so we're just going to move this number, constant, over to the right side. Change the sign, add 7. That's no longer there. 4x is equal to 16. Divide by 4 divide by 4. Yes, x is equal to positive 4. Easy, easy. All right, let's go on to the next one. Okay, so for this one again, we have a negative 2 in front of the parentheses. Because I've run out of room, my arrows are going to be down at the bottom. Same thing, distributive property. So we're going to multiply that negative 2 by each term. Okay, so we're going to write down the terms that are on the left side of the equal sign. 5n plus 34. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 7, 14n positive. And then here again, I'm going to do letters left, numbers right. So I'm going to move this term over to the left. That's just how I do it. I just care about you getting the right answer and showing your work. So again, this is 5 minus 14. So that means I'm going to subtract and keep the sign of the bigger number. So this is a negative 9n. I subtracted, kept it negative. Add 34 is equal to negative 2. Okay, and then I'm going to subtract 34 because I'm moving my numbers to the right. So go up here. So we have negative 9 on the left. And then remember this, if we're adding them together, this is a negative 36. And then we're going to divide by negative 9, divide by negative 9. And then a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So n is equal to 4. And again, you can go and check yourself to make sure you're right, or if I'm right, okay? That takes care of that one. Let's see what else I got. I always want to try in these videos to give you, 6 to 8, maybe even 10 examples. All right, let's keep going. All right, so the next few are going to have a lot more steps and get a little bit, not trickier, it's the same thing, but I'm going to show you about maybe 3 or 4 more, and then I'll stop this video. All right, so this is number 17 from the worksheet. I'm going to move a little quicker. Again, when I see a negative in front of the parentheses, that is a negative 1. I am going to multiply each term. Now notice in front of this other parentheses, look, keep the sign with that 6, that's negative 6. We're also going to do another distributive property. So there are 2 distributive properties happening here. So here we go. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. Negative 1 times 7x, say it aloud. You know, a negative times a positive is a negative 7x. Negative 6 times negative 7, this is a positive 42. Negative 6 times negative x. So this will be a positive 6x. Remember, negative times a negative is a positive, and then 6 times x is 6x. So positive 6x equals 36. Okay, so now you notice all the terms are basically on the left, so we have to do combining like terms. So we're going to combine the negative 1, and the other number here is 42. He's positive. So those two are going to go together, and then I'm going to use some other colors. Negative 7x is going to combine with negative 6x. So those are our like terms there. So if I think of negative 1 plus 42, I'm subtracting, keeping the sign of the bigger number. This is a positive 41. There's nothing to move, guys. You have to simplify and break down the one side, okay, before you move anything and solve for x. Now I have negative 7x plus 6. Okay, this is a negative 1x. So I'm just putting a negative x equals 36. And that's pretty easy, right? So now we want to move the number over to the right side. So we're going to subtract 41. Subtract 41. So now we have negative x is equal to, we're going to subtract and keep the sign of the bigger number. This is a negative 5. And then don't forget that negative. There's no such thing as negative letters in the alphabet. So we're going to divide by negative 1. Okay, because I don't want a negative x, I want a positive x. The final answer, x is equal to positive 5. That's the answer for number 17. Okay, now let's look at this one. This one is nice and pretty and a lot of steps. I wish I would have moved it up because I have a lot of space here. Okay, so now for the next one. here we go, sorry. All right, so I noticed that there's a -5. I noticed that there's a +5 in front of this parentheses. Okay, I also noticed that over here, I have like terms, so I'm gonna use another color. Okay, and both of these guys are gonna get combined together on the right side because they both have X's. So I'm gonna draw my arrows. If I mute myself, it's because my son is making noise. So you may just have to watch what I do, but I'm gonna move pretty quick. So -5 times 1 is -5. -5 times -5x, that's a +25x. Remember, a negative times a negative is a positive. And then 5 times 5 is 25x. Sorry, it was a -5 times a -5x. Okay, 5 times -8x is -40x. Don't forget that x. And then 5 times -2 is -10. And then again, I'm going to combine these. So I'm going to change to a plus, bump back, which tells me I'm going to get a -12x on this side. Okay, now what I'm doing is, again, I've simplified this side. So now I'm going to look and say, hey, who's like terms? So I notice, hey, I have a number here, -5. I have a number back here. Those are like terms because they have no x. And then I look at my x terms. I have a +25x. I'm going to combine that with a -40x. So when I do that, -5 minus 10, that's -15. Change to a plus, bump back so you can see it. So I have -15. And then 25x minus 40x, you're going to subtract and keep the sign of the bigger number. So that's -15x. Double checking. Equals, and this is -12x. Now remember, in this case, the situation is like this. We're not going to do letters to the left, numbers to the right, because if I move this guy, okay, over to the left side, I want y'all to see that nothing would be left over here, right? So the smarter thing to do is just go ahead and move this to the right of the equal sign. Because again, you're wanting to solve for x and just get him by himself. So now I'm going to add 15x, add 15x. You see, now all of the x's are on this side instead of them all being on this side, okay? So final step, well, 2 more steps. -15 is equal to, and I'm going to subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number. This is a 3x. And then I'm going to divide by 3, divide by 3. So again, x is equal to, this is -5. That's the answer for number 20. So, I mean, yeah, it looked pretty scary, you know, because, oh my gosh, we have 2 distributive properties, you know. But again, it's the same thing that we've been doing. You just take your time. Again, I recommend matte pencils. I just bought some today. I like highlighters a lot. You'll see that as I get my other computer, I like to use different colored pens when I get a stylus, but I really am liking this, the way that this highlighter really highlights things, right? Okay, so I have this one for number 19 and this one for number 15. Yeah, I think that's it. So, I don't know. I guess I'm going to just do this one and stop the video there. So for this one again, identify that we have a distributive. So I'm going to highlight the -4, do the distributive property, and there's nothing for me to do on this side, nothing. So I'm just going to drop down that 24a minus 22 because these are unlike terms. And now I'm going to multiply -4 times 1 for -4. -4 times -6a. Give that negative back to this number. So if you want to, you can change to a plus and bump back, just so you can see this guy is negative. So -4 times -6a is a positive 24a. And now we're going to do letters left, numbers right. So I'm going to move this term to the left side. I had to do the inverse operation. Do it to this side. Boom. Now, this is what we're going to be encountering on Monday. Awesome, awesome. Is these things called special solutions, to do with what we call special solutions, and I'm going to show you why. This is because when I move that minus 24 over to this side, notice that this is going to cancel out for 0. But guess what happens here? Oh my gosh, it cancels out there, right? So there's no more a, okay? Well, this is what we have is a negative 22 equals negative 4. And as you can see, negative 22 would never, ever equal negative 4. Those are not the same value. So this is a false statement. So therefore, don't worry about, I know it freaks you out, but the a is gone. There's no more variable. But when you're left with the numbers, look and see if they're equal. And in this case, they're not equal. This is a false statement. So the answer to this is no solution. No solution. Okay, so the answer, again, no solution, because when we cancel everything out, we don't get a true statement. So we're going to be talking about that on Monday.